Real cheating stories. Unveil the truth. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Cheating Stories. Never give away 100 of yourself. I, 35, have been with me, baby mama, 33 years old, for about 4 or 5 years. We have 2 children together and one she had when she was 17. I gave my whole life to this woman. I was always a hopeless romantic, and I believed that giving myself fully to her would make her love me more. I was dead wrong. In the beginning, we were roommates, and we ended up getting together through surviving hardships. I fell in love with her because I believed everything she said. She made herself out to be exactly the person I wanted to spend my life with. I devoted every second of my leisure to her happiness. I made her things with my own hands. Things that took incredible skill. I brought her cupcakes and everything she ever wanted. I did every romantic thing I could think of on every day I could spare. I massaged her for up to 4 hours a day, and I'm an expert. I handcrafted jewelry for her. I wrote her poems. I painted for her. I cooked for her. I bought her everything she asked for. You get the point by now. After a year, she told me she cheated on me and didn't deserve me. Turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. She cheated on me with her ex-stepdad. We lived at his house in the basement during hard times. She went to see her ex that she has sex with every time she sees him. I know because she blew me off to have sex with him twice before we got together. She cheated on me with my roommate. While I worked for a year, she chested on me with 6 of my neighbors. For the last 2 years, she sucked off multiple guys at parties. 20 people have come to me to express that they were sorry and didn't know I was her bestie yet. She cheated on me with at least 6 of her ex-BF, who I didn't know were her exes till recently. She tried to cheat, me with my homies, but they immediately came to me to tell me what happened. She cheated on me with literally every single person she could. At this point, I'm considered that guy. She told everyone that I'm a horrible, abusive person, and I keep getting attacked by her stupid family and friends. She also got arrested for domestic abuse against me after punching me in the face 30 times and kicking me in the face 15 times. I just stood there because I can't hit women. So just a warning to those after me. Don't ever give yourself away. Trust your instincts. Do not get into a relationship while depressed. I'm an idiot who trusted too much. Now, I trust no one. My family is all I have, and I wish my baby mama was dead. Life is too short. Strive to be happy. Strive to make your children happy. Get a therapist. No one cares about men's health. You will be alone. It will make you stronger when you survive the hell of life and women. Good luck. Divorce finalized after my wife cheated multiple times. This has been a long, heartbreaking, emasculated process. I, 42, married my wife, 38, 5 years ago. It hadn't been smooth sailing up to that point, though. We dated on and off for about 4 years. She had addiction problems, which lead to infidelity on a few occasions. Once I caught her upstairs at a party in the act. I was so embarrassed I just left. She begged for another chance. I loved her and knew she wasn't herself. She got into a program and got sober. Things were beautiful. Our relationship was strong and we got married. First year of our marriage was perfect. Second year, not so much. A lot of bickering, but nothing I didn't think we could work through. Third year is when things got bad. She got drunk and cheated on me with a friend of mine. Obviously, this hurt me deeply, but she begged for forgiveness. I knew she had been drinking and convinced myself that's the only reason it happened. I wanted my marriage to work. So I forgave her under the condition that she wouldn't touch alcohol. Things went well for a bit, but I began to hear rumors at work. We worked at the same company. I don't like to pay attention to rumors, but given our history, it ate at me. Was never specific, but just people talking and alluding to things, yay, no. I questioned her. She denied everything. We had arguments, but I thought maybe I'm getting worked up for nothing. Figured it wasn't fair to get on her about, he said, she said. Then one Friday, I was going into work. She had the day off. I was gone a couple hours, but ended up getting sent home early. I get home and there's a random truck in our driveway. I go inside and I know what I hear, but I'm in disbelief. Thumping, squeaky, and moaning. Saying that my heart sank is an understatement. I walk towards the bedroom. The door's open and I see her having sex with our supervisor. I think my heart stopped. I left. I had to because I didn't want to do what I thought about doing. I drove with no destination. Finally pulled over and cried my eyes out. I felt stupid for not leaving before. I felt like a pushover. I felt emasculated. I felt like less than a man for not doing something in the moment. I drove back home, but we're both gone. I broke things, screamed, cried, and sat on the floor. She comes home with her friend and asks what the hell happened. I just started screaming at her. I was out of my mind. Eventually, they left. She came back the next morning. Didn't speak all weekend, and then I went back to work Monday. As soon as I saw the supervisor, I made a beeline for him and connected a few times before it got separated. I screamed and looked crazy, I'm sure. Obviously, I was fired, but thankfully no charges were filed. I filed for divorce that week, which she didn't contest. Obviously, the process takes a bit, regardless. Problem was, we were still living together. I just avoided as much as I could. I was going to stay with my uncle, which I got strung along with that, and it never happened. Had no one else I could stay with at that point, so had to still be there while trying to save up. At this point, my wife didn't give a damn. She didn't even hide that she was seeing other people. Even sneaking men into the house late at night. Had to hear things more than once. I didn't want to go to jail for doing something stupid, but did want to see if there was anything I could do legally, which I was advised that there wasn't. So she's have her good times while I'm living in misery. But finally, I got my own spot. I moved out without a word. Divorce has been finalized. Splitting belongings was simple. I'm happy that it's done, but I'd be lying if I said I felt like myself. I'm colder. I'm negative. I'm just not me. I know it takes time to get through this. I know it was smart of me to just leave the house when I caught them, but that decision also eats at me. Yes, I know I should have ended things earlier. It's easy to say that on hindsight. We all wanted our relationships to work, and some of us took more than others. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Just needed to vent. Sorry if this post might be all over the place. The guy she tells you not to worry about. Edit. I ended up making a new post with updates on the aftermath and more details. I am 32, abandoned my girlfriend as 27 in the city after she repeatedly broke my trust. Counting this relationship, my last 3 relationships have ended in me being cheated on. We had been together 8 months and had been planning a trip to a convention together. Shortly before the trip, she excitedly told me that she made a new friend who was giving us free tickets to the convention. Then things kept snowballing from there. She admitted having flirted with this guy by accident and asked me if she should feel bad. I asked her if he knew she had a boyfriend, and her response was no. It felt weird to bring up. And I've learned people are less likely to give you free stuff if you tell them you're in a relationship already. I told her this made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't think it was outrageous of me to ask her to be careful with her actions and words around this guy. She knew I had been cheated on previously, and it had destroyed my mental health. She had told me that she had cheated in a previous relationship when she was young and in a bad place, but that she wasn't like that anymore. She seemed to understand my reservations about this guy that she couldn't help laying out in front of me. At the time, I hoped it was just her being transparent. So we finally get to the day of the convention, and she makes a beeline to her new friend and spends 90s of her time by his side. I see whispering together and shoulder rubs and giggling and all kinds of things that make me uncomfortable, but I keep it to myself until we're alone. At one point, I tried to go hold her hand, something we like to do often, and she pushed it away and said, "Not right now, I'm stressed while going on to continue laughing in conversation with this other guy. At the end of the day, we're alone and I say, look, I really don't like how I'm being ignored for this guy you just met. I feel like you're crossing boundaries here that hurt me a lot, and I just want to reassert that this hurts me and give you a chance to stop. I don't like this guy, and I don't like the extra attention you're giving him. Her responses were, I'm not cheating on you. You can be his friend too. Just try to talk more to him. And I feel like you're targeting how I'm treating a friend because you've been cheated on before. I held firm. I don't like it, and I hope you take my feelings here seriously. Early next morning, she picked up her phone and was typing away. I pretending to keep my eyes closed and sleep, but I could see she was texting this guy. Saying how we had a fight, she felt stressed, worthless, scared. Meanwhile, the guy fed her positive affirmations about how special she was and how he liked her. My stomach kept sinking the more I caught out of the corner of my half-closed eyes until I had enough. I said good morning and she rolled over on her side to face the phone away and started talking about how she was texting her coworkers. I gave her a weird look and she said, my back hurts. You think I'm trying to hide something because I wanted to roll over to where my back was comfortable? You were texting his name. No, I wasn't. I just told you who I was texting. You're targeting me again. My eyes widened. I sat up and cast a 1,000-mile stare through the wall ahead of me. Why would you lie about that? I was watching you texting him. She had a small mental breakdown and began begging with me. I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. I felt like you were targeting me with him. He's just a friend and I don't want you to think anything else. Still, we made up and went back to the convention where she again made a beeline for this guy and wandered around buying him things. At the end of the day, I told her I was going back to the hotel room and she said she was going to go out with the guy for drinks and I was welcome to come along and that she might stay at his hotel room. I said, nah, I'm good, goodbye. That goodbye was the last time I saw her. I went and packed my stuff and drove back home several hours away. At 5 a.m. in the morning, she realized I had left and called me freaking out that I abandoned her. I told her to enjoy the rest of her trip, but there was nothing else in it for me, and that all her stuff was still in the room her ex-boyfriend, me, had paid for. I also told her if she critically needed a ride home, I'd pick her up, not as her boyfriend, but only out of necessity. Her new friend would likely be able to drive her anyway. Here she bashed me for abandoning my girlfriend with no place to go. I listened to a lot of crying and begging but held firm. I've seen this story play out several times before. I no longer cared. It's hard to describe how I feel now. It's very hard to trust people without expecting hidden motives or something beyond my vision happening that would hurt me. I feel like I was right in finally putting my foot down, and every close friend I talked to about this told me I did the right thing and shouldn't have put up with that activity. But still, sometimes I have nagging questions about if I overreacted or if I was too sensitive. Like, if there's some way I could have done better. If I was an asshole somehow, let me know, right? I like reading these stories because seeing what other people have gone through gives me clarity during the times I was recovering after being cheated on. Hopefully this story can do the same for someone. Told her, ex-girlfriend repeatedly ignored my feelings about how she was treating a new guy friend, and I finally gave up on the relationship. She's on a vacation right now with her man. I am 29, met my girlfriend is 28 back in April. This was after I came out of another relationship where I was cheated on. Anyway, what I can say is that I was a loving boyfriend and supported her through everything. Financially, I completely strained myself for this person. So what happened? We had numerous fights in the relationship, most of which were initiated by me. The only reason I fought was because I was seeing how she was slowly changing, and for everything. I genuinely was trying to show her that she could be more considerate and appreciative of all that I was doing. Last month was my birthday, and we spent the evening together. The evening was somewhat ruined when we got to my place, which smelled bad and put her mood off. We woke up in the morning and she had to leave for work. I asked her to come back, but she said we hadn't planned it, so this person instead decided to go to a weed den to party it up. Anyway, we had even more fights to the point where I ended up breaking up with her. The reason is, she was sick. The weekend we were meant to go on a zoo date. However, the day we were supposed to go, Sunday, She instead felt better and went back to the weed den. And all the while, I was still supporting this person, building them up in their career and helping with presentations. Like how I turned myself inside out just to make sure that she wins is insane. Anyways, she met some guy through a career expo, and when we were broken up, she started. I noticed she was going out on dates and stuff. I confronted her about it. We eventually met up at her place and discussed that she should block this person. All seemed to finally be going right, but as soon as I got home, I noticed she posted a status where she was on the road. When she saw that I saw the status, she quickly unfollowed me. But I calmed myself and created a burner account to see the statuses she'd now hide from me. Then we get to yesterday. I see she's posting about being on a road trip, and she then posted how he is taking her to Bush's for a getaway. I never swore as much as I did yesterday. Kept asking what I did to deserve to be cheated on. But yeah, that's my cheating story. I'm still reeling from the whole thing because wow. Should I get back with my partner after she cheated? Okay, so I know people will probably accuse me of being insecure or whatever, but hear me out. I have only had one sexual experience when I was 17, and it was short and awful and with someone horrible in every way, and I didn't even fully consent. I was waiting to find the right person, but due to a variety of reasons, I couldn't. When I got back into uni after a break, I met this gorgeous girl who I immediately fell in love with. She was everything I could have possibly wanted, and having been single for quite a long time, I was ravished by the fact that she liked me back, albeit after a lot of trying and courting because she did initially friend-zone me given that I wasn't physically the type of guy she had dated in the past. When we got together, it was amazing, and when she wanted to have sex, I got so happy because she was the first woman I think I actually felt like I loved and the first woman in 5 years that I actually was physically involved with. Here's the thing though, I told her I didn't want to rush into sex, so we both agreed we'd wait until a certain day we both agreed upon. The day before that happened, we were both still very much into each other and were still excited. This a-hole, whom we will call Damien, hit on her and she told me about it. She fell in love with him and told me about it. I didn't handle it the best way, and of course she blocked me the next day. Soon after she did unblock me and we got back to being friends, but there was so much damage done. She didn't want to be unfaithful to Damien, so she said she didn't want to be anything more than friends with me anymore and immediately started sleeping with him. She went to this yearly festival I had been waiting all month to ask her out the weekend, 2 days after he hit on her, and even started going out with him in public, something she refused to do with me. Granted, he is very tall, white, and very handsome, from Eurocentric standards, and I am none of those things, haha. So I get why she didn't want to be seen out in public with me even after 3 weeks of being with me, but she was fine doing it with him after a day. Anyways, after 2 long happy months of being with her, Damien found out that she cheated on him with a third guy, and so he just dumped her and found another girl within a week, something I don't have the luxury of doing unless I want to wait another 5 years, which I just don't have the strength to do anymore in light of my crippling loneliness. Anyways, she, over the last 3 months, has caused me immense grief because she kept trying to get back into my life, and I'm at a point where I have finally accepted that I'd rather have her part of my life than spend the rest of my time here in college being single and depressed. I've been doing it for 4 years. I just can't stand being alone anymore. Anyways, my question is, do you think it would be unwise to try to get back into a relationship with her, given that she's still the same person that cheated? For further context, she has had 10 partners in the last 18 months, and I have had one in the last 5 years, and she often brings up those partners and how amazing her experiences were. And she has even sent unwanted photos of her in bed with some of these partners, and it has caused me inconceivable amounts of panic, and it continues to do so even though now she respects my boundaries more. Fact is, knowing she has had so much sex in the 3 months we've been apart when in my head I thought we were supposed to be together has eaten me away and continues to do so. But someone told me that I should just accept that people have a sexual past. I'm sure I can come to terms with that and her cheating eventually. But do you think it can cause me greater harm than good by being in a relationship with this person? And yes, I'm confident she will cheat again, but I love her. And given how cursed I've been in my dating life, I will not have in the next decade of my life anywhere close to the kind of easy access to partners she or Damien has had in the last year. I just want to go through with just one good college relationship with someone I actually find attractive before going out into the workplace. Thanks for reading, if anyone does read this, and I appreciate all your advice. Wife's cheating confession. About a month after our wedding, the wife and I headed for a night away in a city about an hour from us. Checked into the hotel, got changed, and headed to a bar. She was wearing a long dress with a very low-cut revealing top. No bra, showing off plenty of tight and, if you were at the right angle, a full-on view of them. We went into a bar, took a seat, and got a drink when a guy came over, hugged my wife, and asked her how married life was. She introduces him as a guy who works in the same company, but in the head office that was in the city. He's obviously staring at her tits as they talk, and she was quite uncomfortable. He leaves and she says we should try somewhere different. He returns with a drink for us, hangs around for a couple of minutes, taking every chance to look down her top. He soon returns to his table, and I notice the group of them looking over and laughing, obviously telling his two mates how he saw his coworker's tits. We finish our drinks, and the wife is insistent that we move bars. That was the last I heard of him for about 4 years. One day, out of the blue, my wife admits to sleeping with someone. I still don't know why she chose that particular time to tell me. I asked who, where, when, and how it happened. Turns out it was the fucker in the bar. 4 months before we got married, at the company Christmas party, they slept together. Slipped off to his room and let him have her. So I was sitting in the bar that night. We met him thinking he was just trying to see her tits. Little did I know that he'd been sucking them a few months earlier. He was obviously telling his mates when they were looking over and laughing. Girlfriend cheated and wants to get back together. At the time, I was 23 and my girlfriend 20 was together for 3 years, closing to 4 years, and we have son together. Our relationship was great. We never argued and got along great, never had any major issues throughout our relationship. I worked hard to afford our home and tried my best to make it to where she didn't have to worry about anything, just our son. She loved being a stay-at-home mom, and so did I. It all started with her wanting to work and make her own money, which I was all for it, because the stress my job made on me, plus worrying about bills and food on the table, it would help me a lot. She wanted to babysit, even if it was only getting around $100 or so a week. Something is better than nothing. Take note, I reassured her. She didn't have to, as I was doing fine taking care of it on my own, granted. We didn't have much free money, but the bills were paid and there was food on the table, which is what really matters. She understood and told me that she would feel a lot better to help me out and feel like she would be contributing more to our household. I reassured her that she was doing more than enough by taking care of our son, and for the most part kept the house clean as she could, even with having a 2-year-old around. That being said, we agreed for her to get a babysitting job, and she did rather quick actually, and she met this guy with 2 daughters that need a sitter Monday, Friday around 8-4 with making at least $300 a week. I said, sounds good. A week goes by and he starts to compliment her on how well she's doing with his girls, and that they really like her, and also starts to hit on her. At this point, I did not know he was hitting on her, as I usually work a night shift around 2:11 p.m. Now, she did let me know that he was hit on her after I got home that night, and I asked her if she let him know to stop, and she told me yes. So I wasn't too worried about it because I trusted her, and she always let me know about these types of things. I am not the type to search my significant other's phone, because as to it shows signs of distrust between couples. Now her, on the other hand, always searched through mine, but I really didn't think much of it because I had nothing to hide. Anyways, another week goes by and he compliments her more and hits on her again, and my GF shows me the text. At this point, she hasn't responded to him, and I asked her again if she asked him to stop and to reassure him that you were already taken. On top of this, I am aggravated at the guy because he hasn't paid my GF for babysitting at all, and it's been 2 weeks and I have been paying for food for 2 more kids in my household that are not even mine. He keeps making B stories and I wasn't liking it at all. So another week goes by and he finally pays her, and we are beyond hurting for groceries. So I tell her that's awesome, now let's go get some groceries. Also, would like to note that he did not pay her full amount owed, only $300, and he owes her $900. And I get that life situations can't help that sometimes, so I was lenient towards it. So we go to get in the truck for grocery shopping, Then the two girls she is babysitting said they don't want to go and would rather go to the pool instead. We have a big town pool that costs $20 to get into for all of us, and my GF says we can go to the pool, then go get groceries afterwards. At this point, I said no, pool is secondary. We can go get groceries, and then if we have the money, we can go to the pool afterwards. She then starts to argue with me and defend the girls about wanting to go to the pool. So we get into a heated small argument that ended with me driving off with our son, and I took him to see my mother and get my mind off the argument. I told my mom what happened, and she went and had a few words with my GF, and I guess it got heated as well. What was happening or why she was acting this way, but I wasn't liking it. Granted, my mother should have never got involved. I never meant to get her involved, but she was the only person I had at that moment to vent to. My sister went and talked to her as well and calmed everyone down and offered to have a girls' night out with her. I thought it was a good idea, because then me and my son could get some time together. So I go to pick them up later that night, and she is drunk pretty bad. Actually, I carry her inside and take care of her while she pukes and everything before laying her down in bed. I see a text on her phone from the man she is babysitting for saying "good night, beautiful." At this point, I'm confused because she told me that he didn't hit on her anymore or even compliment her. So I checked the messages, and what I read, my heart shattered. I instantly felt rage. I didn't know what to do. I just sat at my kitchen table for a long hour staring at my wall. So I called her stepfather that Ike works night shifts and explained the situation. He calmed me down and told me not to do anything stupid that I will regret. I went around the house and grabbed a few things I bought for her and broke them outside. Then I grabbed my son and left to a friend's house that had a spare room for me and my son. If you want me to keep going with this story, leave in the comments, and any questions you have. Can't stop soft cheating on my wife. Me, 31 years old, and my wife is 29, have been married for over 10 years now. Very early on, like 6 months in, we started arguing a lot about sex. I felt rejected, as it seemed she just wasn't bothered about having sex with me anymore, and I was so turned on by her and wanted it all of the time. She got pregnant within a year of us getting married, and we didn't have sex for the entire time she was pregnant. Fast forward 10 years, and here we are. I feel like she isn't attracted to me, as she just isn't bothered about sex much at all. We argue about it, and she tells me I'm wrong, and she is. But then nothing changes, and we repeat this cycle. I started occasionally using paid com-to-com sites while she was pregnant, and I quickly got hooked on the attention and validation that I got from these girls, who actually made me feel like I was attractive. Since then, it's escalated more and more to the point where I now spend a lot of time sexting on Snapchat and FB Messenger. I've never done anything physical, except when a coworker gave me her underwear on a night out. But nothing else happened. But I am now so desensitized by this that it feels so normal to me, to the point where I will sometimes reply to messages while she is in the room. I know that a lot of people reading this will say, just leave her, but it's not that easy. We have been together since we were so young that pretty much our whole lives are completely entangled. We also have a child and a mortgage. On top of this, I have previously been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which makes it very hard for me to fully let go of her. Part of me wants to stop this, but on the other hand, it's like giving up my only outlet to fulfill my sexual needs. I just feel humiliated and in a lose-lose situation. I am 17, don't even know if I'm really being cheated on, but regardless, it's a lose-lose situation, as everyone thinks I am. A few days ago, AIT page posted some messages alleging that my girlfriend, 16, was attempting to cheat on me and set up a threesome with 2 guys that go to another high school. She was the first to notify me of the situation and stated that the rumors were untrue and that the messages were sent from her old account that her ex-BF hacked and locked her out of, and now he's sending fake messages to attempt to break us up. While I was skeptical at first, I looked into her story, and it checked out, as that account hasn't had anything posted on it since April of last year. We started dating November of last year, and all her friends backed up her story of her ex being a weirdo trying to break us up. When the post first came out, it only had like 20 views in the first day of people I don't know, so I just took her word and swept it under the rug. However, at around 2 this morning, I was told to look in my football group chat, and I saw all the screenshots from the page in the GC with all my teammates laughing at me. I don't know what to do, as regardless of if she actually cheated or not, I'm in a lose-lose situation, as either I can believe her and stay with her and she was cheating and now I look stupid and everybody in school is gonna laugh at me. Or B, she's telling the truth, but people are still gonna believe she did cheat and Emma looks stupid and get laughed at. Alternatively, I can break up with her and she didn't cheat and her ex succeeded in breaking up our happy relationship. Or B, she did cheat and now I got cheated on and I'm single and Emma get laughed at. I just feel really humiliated as there's no right move to take and this is the first girl I've actually been in love with. And I really don't want to break up with her, especially if she's telling the truth. What should I do? My fiancé cheated on me with my father. Part 1. I am 27, my fiancé is 26, call her L. My father is 52, call him B. My mother 50F, call her R. Like many who've had something like this happen, I never thought something like this would happen to me. But here we are. I've never used Reddit, but I've seen stories from here on TikTok, so I'd give this a shot for any advice you all could give me. From listening to some other stories, you all like backstory. I'll try and be as clear and precise as I can, but it's only been a week, so if I start to lose it during the telling of this, I'm sorry. Elle and I met in her freshman year of college. We were both dorm in the same building where we eventually met. We later found out we lived 2 towns away from each other, so whenever we went home, I let her drive with me. It was only added like 20 minutes, so it was no big deal. After multiple trips and hanging out at school, we started to date. I have a close-knit family, as did she, so we told our families right away. I had met hers plenty of times when dropping her off, but it was nothing more than an introduction and exchanging pleasantries. Both of our families accepted each other with open arms and our relationship grew. I was a year ahead of her, so when I graduated, I went home where I was offered a good job with great pay. I visited her at school whenever I got the chance, and whenever she came home, we would make time for each other. After she graduated, she moved in with me as both of our jobs were in the city near where we grew up. Like me, she was offered a position at the company she works at now with great pay. After living together for about 3 years, I proposed, and we have been planning our wedding since. Now on to the part you're all reading for. Looking back, there was plenty of things I overlooked that I just wrote off thinking my father was just trying to welcome my ex into our family. Things like my father calling her all the time, and if I was around, they would just tell me they were talking about the upcoming family party or something along those lines. One time, Elle was in the shower and her phone rang. I seen it was my dad, so I answered when he realized it was me. He sounded both upset and surprised that I picked up. I then asked what's up. He responded that he wanted to talk to Elle about my mother's birthday. That was in a week, and after a minute, we ended the call. Even typing this out now, I feel like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. On the day I found out, it was like any other day. Elle had Thursdays off, so she made breakfast for both of us. When I set out for work, she gave me a kiss and told me to have a great day. During my drive to work, I realized I had forgotten some paperwork I would need for a meeting I had at 3. I shrugged it off and told myself I would just go home at lunch to get it. Elle texted me throughout the day talking about all the casual stuff a couple talks about, like, what do you want for dinner? I did the laundry, do you want me to hang it up for you? Blah, 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 blah. I didn't think it necessary to text her I was coming home for lunch. So when it came around, I just left work and went home. When I got home, I noticed a car that looked like my father's in our parking lot, but I didn't think anything of it and just parked and went into our building. When I opened the door, I was met with a scene out off a movie where a man comes home early and catches his spouse cheating, such a cliche. There was a trail of clothes, both his and hers, leading to my bedroom, and a sound of faint moans echoed through my apartment. I stood at the door in utter shock. My brain was a mix of rage, sadness, and disgust. But if you were a fly on my wall, you would see what looked like a statue. I just couldn't move. When I finally snapped to, not knowing how much time had passed, I took out my phone to record. I picked up all the clothes that were on the floor and threw them into the hall of the building. After, I filmed the walk to my bedroom. The door was open. I stood in the doorway filming for about a minute, then flipped on the lights. They both jumped at the sudden light and looked at me, and to my utter shock, it was my father in the bed with her. After the initial stun, my father noticed I was recording and started to panic, trying to find anything to cover himself and telling me to stop recording. He found a towel and wrapped it around himself and started to walk toward me. I told him, if you don't want to get hurt, stop coming to me. He either didn't care or didn't hear me and reached for my phone. I hit him square on the jaw. His head bounced off the door and slumped to the ground. L shrieked. I aimed the camera at L and said, concerned about your fear, buddy, but nothing to say to your fiancé. My father woke up after about a minute nap, and I told him I just needed to come pick something up for work, so I'm heading back now. If either of you pieces of sisters are here when I get back, I'll send this video to everyone you know. I ended the video, looked at my dad, who was still coming to, and said, you're dead to me. You're no longer my father, but you might want to go home and talk to Mom because I'll be talking to her very soon. I sat in my car for a while until one of the bosses at work called to ask where I was. I told her I was on my way back right now. When I got to her office to hand her the paperwork, I must have looked awful because she started asking what was wrong with me. I told her it was nothing and I'd be okay. I could see her scanning me up and down, and she noticed some blood on my collar and stood up, rushed to me and said, you're bleeding. I looked down and said it was my father's. She looked confused, so I pulled out my phone and showed her the video. She watched it in its entirety. She was introduced to LA a few times, but never my father. She sat there silent for a moment until it finally clicked that my fiancé was cheating on me. But not only was she cheating, he was with my father. She asked if there was anything she could do, suggesting I take some time off, but I told her I can't go back there right now. That I just need a minute and I'd be fine for the meeting, and I have another shirt in my office. The meeting went over fine. I put on a smile for everyone like nothing had happened. My boss came up to me after the meeting and asked how I could do that, but I just said I don't know and went to my office. I then came home and I was alone for the first time in a very long time. Thank you for reading. I'm sorry I carried on so much, but it was therapeutic getting everything down. I just don't know what to do. I defiantly need to get the hell out of this apartment. I just can't live here anymore, and there's no possible way I'm sleeping in that bed. I know not only do I have to go get checked out, I first did ease, but I think I broke something in my hand. Fiancé cheated on me with my father. Part 2. Wow, hello everyone. I didn't expect to come back to Reddit and have this much support. I didn't really plan to update at all. I just wanted to put what had happened out there and hopefully get some advice. After I wrote down all that happened, I closed my computer and kind of fell into a depression after I posted. It hit me like a train. To the ones who think it's fake, I wish I was this creative. I'd write books instead of working a 9-5. I'll try to reply more on this post. I just logged back on, and it was honestly too much to try and reply to every comment. Just know I read through most of them. And I truly appreciate everyone's inputs, both negative and positive. So, the day after I posted, I tried to get into contact with my mother, but none of my calls were connecting. I wanted to see if she would get lunch with me, and I'd tell her everything. After about a dozen tries, I decided to get into my car and go to my mother's house. She needed to know what happened as soon as possible, even if talking about was going to make it hurt all over again. During the drive, I thought about what I would say and how I would say it that made me start to panic. I had to pull over twice to throw up. It's not every day you have to tell your mom that her husband is screwing your fiancé. I pulled into the driveway and sat in my car for a moment to calm down and gather my thoughts. I was in my car for a few minutes when my mother threw her front door open, so I stepped out of my car. She started cursing at me, saying how dare I come to her home after I hit my father for trying to break up a fight between Elle and I. She called me every name in the book and called me an abuser. She told me I needed to leave since Elle isn't ready to forgive me yet, and that if she's smart, she hopefully never will. Yes, apparently my father took Elle to my family's home and told my mom that Elle and I argued, and when my father tried to spot it, I hit him. She continued on for a while until I finally snapped and said, "Really, Mom, because your husband is forgiving my fiancé. That's why I hit him, and if you can't take my word for it, I have a video. I'll send it to you, but because my own mother can talk to me like this, don't expect to see me again. I want to hear your apology when you finally figure out that you're just as shit of a mom as my piece of shit of a mom as my piece of shit father." Her face dropped. She looked like what I must have looked like when I first walked into my apartment and caught them. I pulled out my phone and sent her the video. My mom took hers out and turned it on. She pulled up the video and watched up until the part where I turned on the light. She then put her phone down. She looked up at me, but I turned and went into my car. I backed out of her driveway. I looked at her before I took off and she was in tears. My heart felt for her, but too much was said during that fight for me to pull back in and forgive her. When I got home, I started clearing everything out of my apartment that had to do with Elle or my family. I boxed all of Elle's things up and put them next to the front door. Legally, this has been her place of residence, so I can't technically kick her out. Her name isn't on the lease also. She's the type of person who shies away from conflict. And if she returns other than to pick her things up, there will be plenty of conflict. Anything that had to do with my parents, I boxed up and put into storage. Like I said in my first post, we were a very close family, but I've never had a problem cutting toxic people out of my life. I texted Elle's parents and told them calling off the engagement and told them she's been cheating on me. I thanked them for everything they've done for me. Our relationship was still building, but they were kind and supportive of me, so this just added more hurt to the mix. I finished by asking if they would come pick up all of her belongings. I haven't gotten a response from them yet, but I'm hoping they come grab her things, so Elle doesn't have a reason to come back here. Fiancé cheated on me with my father. Part 3. Hey everyone, I'm sorry I haven't updated in a while. I wish I could say I'm doing great, but that would be a lie. Everything hits me in waves. I go from just being numb to boiling with rage. I haven't had a happy moment since I found out. Other than a few friends, I don't really have anyone RL, especially since my family turned out to be quite a few things happened since I posted last. It's been about a month, so this update will tell all that's been going on. After my last post, I decided to get the ball rolling on everything that needed to be done, like getting tested, finding a therapist, moving, and of course buying a new bed. I started by calling my doctor's office telling them I needed to get tested and to refer me to a therapist. I had my first appointment with a therapist 2 weeks ago, and we decided to continue once a week. I also got tested last week, but it'll be another week or so. So until I get the results, cross your fingers for me. I got in touch with a real estate agent friend of mine, and he sent me a ton of listings, and I decided on a refurbished cabin on the outskirts of my city. I finished moving 2 days ago. When I finished moving, I called Elle's parents. When they picked up, I told them I moved out and Elle has still yet to pick up her things and that the landlord will start showing the apartment in a few days. So someone better pick her things up before the landlord throws it out. That must have lit a fire under them, because the next day my former landlord texted me thanking me for getting the apartment emptied out. No one knows where I live now, other than the friend who set me up with this place, so I know Elle or my parents won't be dropping by. The only thing that sucks about this place is I traded a 10-minute walk to work to a 45-minute drive. My phone has been blowing up with texts and calls from Elle, both my parents and some of my friends, but I have no interest in talking to anyone other than my therapist. At work, I've been a ghost. I go in, get my work done, and leave. On the rare occasion I have to talk to someone, I put on my fake smile and pretend everything is okay. My boss from my previous post has been trying to check in on me more, but I don't really tell her anything either. I just tell her I appreciate it, but I'll be okay. Truth is, I don't know if I'll be okay. I get that time heals and all, but I feel like that's only relevant when you're dealing with one issue, not when you lose who you thought were the 3 closest people in your life all at once. A huge part of me died and there's no chance of resuscitating it. The meetings with my therapist are going well. I suppose I've never done therapy before, so I have no reference on what good therapy is. We do get along all right, and she really seems genuine in wanting to help. The first session was us getting to know each other and delving into what brings me to her. Nothing in depth but me just telling her what happened in my own words. The second session we went a bit deeper. She asked me about the relationship I had with my parents. I told her up until now it was great. We talked often and always communicated well when something was wrong, and that I grew up in a great home, but that all means nothing now. She asked why I cut my mother out of my life. I told her she said things to me I wouldn't say to someone I despised, then told her there's no way she can come back from that. At the end of our last session, I gave her the link to my page on here so she can read more about how I feel and what's going on in my head. I feel like it's easier to type things out than it is to speak it. So if you're reading this, hi doc. For now, I'm still miserable. I thought I'd be okay by now, not necessarily happy, but okay. I know some of it is my own fault not communicating to my friends, but when I think about responding to them, it just seems so exhausting. I know they'll want to get together or come to my new place, but I just don't have the energy to be around them. Until I do, I'll work, go to my appointments, and sit on my back deck, zipping on some bottom shelf whiskey and try to enjoy this beautiful view. I haven't hunted since high school, so maybe I'll take that up again now that I can hunt from my back porch. Thank you all for reading this far. Fiancé cheated on me with my father. Part 4. 8-month update. Hey everyone. Sorry I've been Mia for a while now. I'm writing this update to let you all know I'm alive and to give you the lowdown of what's been happening as of recent. First, I want to apologize to those who've worried about me the past few months. After my last post, I was nowhere near okay. So I pulled back from everything. I secluded myself in order to heal and cope with what is now my life. I want you to know every comment and message didn't fall on deaf ears. I took all of your positive feedback and advice and worked through my problems. So, to the people who've supported me though, this truly thank you. I can't stress it enough. When I was at the lowest I've ever been, it was internet strangers that were there for me, so again, thank you all. In my last post, I was doing things like getting tested for STDs and trying to restart my life. I'm happy to inform you all I am clean and couldn't be more relieved. I am fully moved into my new place. When I told you all about my new place, I told you it was a refurbished cabin. Well, I might have been a little generous. It was refurbished almost 25-30 years ago, so it was a bit dated. Well, with all my newfound free time, I decided to actually refurbish it, and all that's left to do is paint the guest room I turned into an office. The only thing I didn't do myself was the electric and plumbing, because I have no clue how to do it and have zero interest in being shocked or putting my hand in a shit-covered pipe. Doing all the work has been incredibly stress-releasing and has helped me clear my head. I still see my therapist once a week. To all those who suggested it, you probably saved my life, so thank you. Being able to vent, get my frustrations out, and get the advice I need has been better than anything in my life, past or present. I'm still working at the same company. I've become more open with some of my coworkers that I'm closer with and my boss from my previous post due to the advice from my therapist. Also, due to her and some of your advice, I've reached out to my friends and have slowly been reintegrating into the group again. Now on to the update with what's been going on between my families and ex. I decided I was ready to have a talk with my mother, so a little over a month ago, I unblocked her on my phone and reached out. I called and almost instantly, she picked up the phone. I could tell through the tone of her voice she was panicking. Eventually, after reassuring it was me, I told her we should meet and talk. She agreed, and a day later we met at a diner near her house. She was there before I was, and when she seen me, she started quietly sobbing. When I sat, she apologized over and over again, telling me she could only take their word because she never thought them getting together would ever happen. I told her while I appreciate her apology, the things she said to me were despicable and something no mother should ever say to their child, and it showed me exactly what she thought of me. She cried harder and promised it's not true that when she was told I hit my father for no reason, she was so angry, and when I showed up to the house, she just let her anger take over. Not wanting to go back and forth with her, I decided to move on. I said, "Speaking of that, boss, what have you decided to do with him?" She told me they'd been separated. She just kicked him out since the day after I sent her the video, and she immediately found a lawyer. Then we moved on to my ex. She said that when I pulled away, she went back into the house and threw them both out. She was too disgusted to look at them. We talked for about an hour in total, and before I left, I told her I was in a dark point of my life, and because of the things she said to me, I didn't have my mother when I needed her, and because of that, I don't know if I could have her in my life. I then told her I'm willing to work on my relationship with her, but it will be at my pace. She stopped me before I could leave and told me she has to tell me something important. I sat back down and she said, Elle is pregnant. Elle apparently showed up to the house and told my mom. She said she didn't know if it's mine or my father's. Elle asked if I'd been in touch so she can let me know. Obviously, she hasn't, so my mom just sent her on her way. Well, that's about it for the update. I have a lot on my mind, not sure what to do or feel. Thank you for reading. Sorry for rambling on and on. I already forgave her cheating, but now I saw details and can't cope with the way she had sex. I am really freaking out right now and hope you guys can help me. My girlfriend of 25 years has cheated, and I already forgave her. Now I learned that the sex was much worse than I expected, and I don't know how to handle this. It happened about 2 months ago. My girlfriend was at a party at the shared apartment of some of her friends. Nothing special. I wasn't in town as I had to work in a different city. The next day, she called me crying and told me that she had cheated. I was shocked. When I came back the day after that, we had a long talk. She didn't tell me much details, and I didn't ask for it. She said that she had had a few drinks and just went with the flow and then had sex there. I actually didn't ask with whom. As she seemed to be really sorry, I tried to get over it. It took me some time, but I actually managed to really forgive her, and I thought our relationship was on a good track again. Her cheating wasn't a topic at all anymore. I admit that I was wondering about details from time to time, but I didn't want to talk about it and thought that it doesn't matter. However, I was very, very wrong. Yesterday, I talked to a guy who was there as well, and he seemed to be very surprised that I'd been able to forgive her. I tried to explain to him that I appreciated her honesty and that she never tried to hide it at all. I almost blacked out when he told me. To cut a long story short, it wasn't just normal sex with one guy. She apparently slept with at least 3 of them and did things she'd never do with me. I still have no words for it. Actually, I thought he was making this up, but he had proof and I can't get this off my mind now. I don't know how to ever cope with this. I know that I didn't ask for details, but it still feels like she lied to me even though she technically maybe didn't. I hate that I went through a lot of mental trouble to keep this relationship alive and now have to learn this. I am completely freaking out right now. Wife cheated while I am deployed. I learned back in April that my wife of 5 years, she is 30, was having an affair with a guy she worked with. We have a daughter who is 2. Together, we had built a comfortable life together. Previous to this, we had been going through a rough patch, but I thought it would be something we would work through. I am currently deployed, which makes dealing with this issue more challenging to navigate. After getting caught, she apologized, but I didn't buy it and felt I was only being given lip service. We agreed there was no coming back from this, and truly I went from being madly in love with this woman to the sound of her voice and seeing her makes me see red anymore. She expressed multiple times that she hates me and wants to be with the affair partner and wants to be divorced immediately. She has this guy over at my house most days of the week late at night, and she brings him around my daughter too, just to spite me because she says I can do what I want and you can't control me. She has also given this individual the garage code to come and go freely from my home. She has played the victim card in all this and truly believes the lies she's telling. I want so bad every day to post this to social media and destroy her and her image, since she's always cared so much about public perception of her. When she went to her attorney, she drafted divorce documents stating I would walk away from our home and only get my vehicle and personal belongings. I shortly after came back telling her that I want my daughter 182 days out of the year. If she wants the house, she will have to buy me out or we will sell it. She has said that she will not willingly give me that much time with my daughter because she thinks I don't deserve it and she won't agree to terms for the house either. She said, we will settle in court. After informing her of the financial commitment that will entail, not to mention the long time frame, it only fell on deaf ears. I don't want to waste money that could better serve myself or my daughter. Not to mention, I don't wish to waste so much time. In all of this, her family is unaware of her behavior. Any advice on how to persuade her to settle now, out of court? Should I maintain the moral high road? Should I lift the veil of all this to family, friends, and anyone else? I'm in the Missouri Army National Guard. I'm an E5 sergeant. The only reason I mentioned taking the moral high road is because she's already being difficult, and I don't get to talk to my daughter but once a day for maybe 15-30 minutes. Just worried she would make it harder, if not impossible, to see or speak with my daughter. Legally, she can't, but people break the law every day. The loan for the house is in her name since when we purchased the property. Her credit was just slightly better than my own. We have already split bank accounts, so our finances are separate. I send her enough money to make our mortgage payment since I receive money for utilities and money to support my daughter. Everything else is being put away for the legal battle that will ensue upon my return. I have every intention on fighting for my child tooth and nail and won't settle for anything less than 50-50 custody or 182 days a year with her. She is a federal employee for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. This guy was an employee there, but has since quit and is currently in the police academy. I have since received pictures, screenshots of messages, and videos as evidence of this affair. I also have on video admissions of guilt to confirm this as well. Not to forget, my neighbor across the street has been keeping an eye on my house and has shared videos of app coming and going freely through my garage. Update. After finally having put up with enough of the disrespect and being treated so poorly on every front, I created a group text with her parents and spelled out everything that has been happening, to include the sharing of pictures captured by app wife when she caught my wife and she caught my wife in app at my house. After I sent that text to her parents, what do you know? No response. I guess you can say that silence is consent. I'll share the exact text that happened in the last few days between her and I. I am removing names, but no other content. Her. I know that things have been hard for us for quite some time now, but I also know that it doesn't give me an excuse to do what I did. I am truly sorry for that. I am sorry that I hurt you in a way that will probably never be repaired in your eyes. I am not asking you to forgive me, because I know that you have every right to hold a grudge. With that being said, I want us to get back to a healthy place where we can discuss child and a parenting plan for when you get back. I understand if you don't want to do that and want to go ahead with court to determine a parenting plan. I am just trying to do what is right for child. So let me know. I do not want the fight. Her following up the next day, let me know if you want to schedule a time to talk about child. Me. I prefer to correspond about matters such as child or the way ahead via text. As far as your text from last night, I'm still thinking it over and getting my thoughts in order before I give a response. Her. That's fine. I understand. We can talk through text. Take your time if that's what you need. I won't rush you. My response a week later. I don't wish to fight and would like to move forward, but I won't compromise on what I expect as far as acceptable terms for the way ahead. If these terms can be agreed on, I'm more than okay with settling out of court and having my attorney draft the documents. If you can agree on these terms, I am willing to settle out of court and move into discussion of a parenting plan. Her. Well, I was thinking more of a progressive parenting plan for child. She's only 2 and is very dependent on me. She hasn't seen you in a year and will be very uncomfortable leaving me and going with you. So what I was suggesting is the first year do 80-20, then the next year 70-30, and work our way to 50-50. That way, she is more comfortable and that gives you more time to get settled. All of the major decisions would still be decided by both of us. I don't care about anything else in your agreement. That's not what I'm worried about. Me. I'm not at all willing to do anything less than 50-50. Regardless of your personal opinion or feelings, I'm entitled to equal time spent with her. Her. I know, but I'm asking you to put aside your pride and do what's best for child. Me. I'm not playing this game with you. What I'm asking is not unreasonable, nor is it selfish or prideful. I'm going to email my attorney and tell them to go ahead with filing for a court date. That was another real cheating story. Okay? I'll see you in court. Please drop a line in comments. I'll post more updates if they come. I wish you a great day.